There's a darkness that walks among us. It doesn't wear a mask or carry a sign, but it lurks in the most unsuspecting corners of our lives. This shadow is the person you least expect, the one who smiles while plotting, who charms while deceiving. They may be in your social circle, at your workplace, or even within your family. They blend into society with ease, often unnoticed, yet their impact can be devastating. This is the evil person, a master of manipulation, a craftsman of chaos. Today, we're diving deep into the murky waters of human nature to uncover the subtle signs that distinguish these malevolent individuals from the rest of us. We're not just scratching the surface here. We're peeling back the layers of their personality to reveal the rotten core hidden beneath. This isn't about paranoia or fear. It's about awareness, understanding. By the end of this journey, you'll be equipped with the knowledge to spot the evil person in your life, even if they're wearing the most convincing disguise. What drives these individuals? What fuels their sinister desires? The answers lie in the words of ancient philosophers, in the patterns of behavior that have persisted throughout human history, and in the dark side of human psychology that most people would rather not acknowledge. But you're here to face the truth, to arm yourself with wisdom that can protect you and those you care about. This is a journey into the mind of an evil person, guided by the principles of Stoicism and the wisdom of the ages. So, let's begin. Let's unravel the 7 ways to spot an evil person, starting with the most insidious trait of all. Way 1. The charm of deception. The first sign of an evil person is their charm. But not just any charm. Their charm is a weapon, a carefully honed tool used to manipulate and control. They know exactly what to say, how to act, and when to smile. Their charm is disarming, soothing, and often intoxicating. It's easy to be taken in by them because they seem so genuine, so sincere. But beneath that polished exterior lies a calculating mind, always 2 steps ahead, always plotting their next move. This isn't just any ordinary charm. It's not the natural magnetism of a confident person or the charisma of a leader. This charm is strategic. It's used to win trust quickly, to disarm suspicion, to create a false sense of security. An evil person knows that the easiest way to gain power over someone is to first gain their trust, and they are masters at it. Consider the words of the Roman philosopher Seneca, who said, "No evil propensity of the human heart is so powerful that it may not be subdued by discipline." An evil person understands this on a deep level. They have disciplined themselves in the art of deception, refining their charm to a point where it becomes a near irresistible force. But it's not genuine. It's a facade, a carefully constructed mask designed to hide their true intentions. The danger of this charm lies in its subtlety. It's easy to mistake it for kindness or generosity, especially when it's paired with acts that seem altruistic or selfless. But look closely. Pay attention to the patterns. Does their charm only surface when they need something? Do they withdraw it as soon as they've gotten what they want? This selective charm is a telltale sign of an underlying agenda. In the philosophy of Stoicism, there's a focus on the importance of virtue, of being true to one's principles regardless of the situation. An evil person is the antithesis of this. Their charm is not rooted in virtue, but in a deep-seated selfishness. They charm others not to bring joy or comfort, but to manipulate, to control, to get what they want. And once their goals are achieved, that charm evaporates, often replaced by indifference, coldness, or even cruelty. This charm is often coupled with a keen understanding of human psychology. They know how to read people, to pick up on their desires, fears, and insecurities. They know how to say the right thing at the right time to make others feel understood, valued, and appreciated. But again, this is all part of the manipulation. They're not interested in genuine connections or relationships. They're interested in control. It's important to understand that not everyone who is charming is evil. But when charm is used consistently as a tool for manipulation, when it's wielded like a weapon to disarm, deceive, and dominate, you are likely dealing with an evil person. This kind of charm is like a velvet glove covering an iron fist. It's soft, comforting, and seemingly harmless, but the true intention behind it is to strike, to hurt, to control. Be wary of those who are too charming, too agreeable, too perfect. Remember the words of the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who warned, "Appearances are of little account, but the truth is what matters." Don't be fooled by the appearance of charm. Seek the truth beneath the surface, and you'll start to see the cracks in their facade. Way 2. The mask of empathy. The second sign of an evil person is their ability to feign empathy. Empathy is one of the most powerful and beautiful aspects of human nature. It allows us to connect with others, to feel their pain, to share in their joy. It's the glue that holds relationships together and the foundation of trust and understanding. But in the hands of an evil person, empathy is not a genuine emotion. It's a performance, a charade, a tool for manipulation. An evil person will often go out of their way to appear empathetic. They'll listen attentively, offer comforting words, and seem genuinely concerned about your well-being. But this empathy is not real. It's a mask they wear to blend in, to gain your trust, to make you feel safe and understood. They use this faux empathy to learn more about you, to discover your weaknesses, your fears, and your vulnerabilities. And once they have that information, they'll use it against you. This is what makes the evil person so dangerous. They're masters of emotional manipulation. They know how to push your buttons, how to make you feel special, how to make you feel understood. But it's all a lie. They don't care about you or your feelings. They're only interested in how they can use you to achieve their own goals. The philosopher Aristotle spoke of the concept of phronesis, or practical wisdom, which involves knowing the right thing to do in a given situation. An evil person lacks true phronesis because their actions are not guided by wisdom or virtue, but by selfishness and malice. Their feigned empathy is not an expression of understanding or care, but a calculated move designed to manipulate and control. To spot this false empathy, pay attention to the consistency of their behavior. Do they only show empathy when they need something from you? Do they quickly lose interest in your problems once they've gotten what they want? Do they use your vulnerabilities against you later on? Genuine empathy is consistent, selfless, and comes from a place of genuine care. False empathy is sporadic, self-serving, and always comes with strings attached. It's also important to observe how they treat others. An evil person often reserves their faux empathy for those they want to control. When dealing with people they have no use for, their mask may slip, revealing their true, callous nature. They may be indifferent, dismissive, or even cruel to those who cannot serve their purposes. This inconsistency is a key indicator of their true nature. In the words of the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. An evil person's soul is dyed with deceit and manipulation, and while they may try to hide it with a mask of empathy, their true colors will eventually show through. It's up to you to recognize the signs, to see beyond the mask, and to protect yourself from their manipulative tactics. Way 3. The pleasure in others' pain. The third sign of an evil person is their pleasure in the pain of others. This is perhaps the most chilling trait of all, for it reveals the depth of their depravity. While most people feel empathy and compassion when they see someone suffering, an evil person feels something entirely different. Pleasure. They may not show it openly, but deep down, they enjoy seeing others in pain. It gives them a sense of power, of control, of superiority. This trait is often well hidden because an evil person knows that openly expressing such feelings would expose them. But there are subtle signs, small clues that can give them away. They may smirk or smile when someone else is in distress. They may make cruel jokes at the expense of others. They may seem indifferent or even amused by the suffering of others. These are the moments when their true nature is revealed, when the mask slips and you catch a glimpse of the darkness within. This pleasure in others' pain is not just about physical suffering. An evil person may also take pleasure in emotional or psychological pain. They may enjoy humiliating others, undermining their confidence, or sowing discord in relationships. They thrive on chaos and conflict, and they will often go out of their way to create it. They may spread rumors, instigate fights, or manipulate situations to cause harm to others, all while maintaining the appearance of innocence. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "He who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster. And if you gaze long enough into an abyss, the abyss will gaze back into you." An evil person has gazed into the abyss and found pleasure in its darkness. They have become the monster that Nietzsche warned about, reveling in the pain and suffering of others. It's important to remember that not everyone who enjoys conflict or competition is evil, but when someone consistently derives pleasure from the suffering of others, when they go out of their way to cause harm or distress, they have crossed a line. This is not just a lack of empathy, it's a perversion of it. It's the sign of a truly malevolent soul. To protect yourself from this kind of evil, you must be vigilant. Pay attention to how people react to the pain of others. Do they seem indifferent, amused, or even pleased? Do they go out of their way to cause harm or create conflict? These are red flags that should not be ignored. The sooner you recognize these signs, the sooner you can distance yourself from these toxic individuals. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." An evil person's reaction to the suffering of others reveals their true character. They may try to hide it, to mask their true feelings, but in those moments of unguarded reaction, their true nature is laid bare. Way 4. The manipulation of truth. The fourth sign of an evil person is their manipulation of truth. Truth is one of the most powerful forces in the world. It's the foundation of trust, the bedrock of relationships, and the cornerstone of justice. But an evil person sees truth as something to be twisted, distorted, and manipulated to serve their own ends. They have no respect for the truth. They see it as a tool to be used, a weapon to be wielded in their pursuit of power and control. An evil person is a master of deception. They know how to lie convincingly, how to bend the truth just enough to make it believable, how to omit key details to create a false narrative. They are skilled at gaslighting, making you doubt your own perceptions and memories, causing you to question your own sanity. They'll tell you one thing and then do another, leaving you confused and disoriented, unsure of what to believe. The philosopher Plato warned of the dangers of sophistry, the art of using rhetoric and deception to persuade others, regardless of the truth. An evil person is a modern-day sophist, using their words to manipulate and deceive, rather than to illuminate and enlighten. They care nothing for the truth. They are only interested in what they can gain by distorting it. This manipulation of truth can take many forms. An evil person may lie outright, but more often they will tell half-truths, omitting key details or presenting information in a misleading way. They may exaggerate, downplay, or twist facts to suit their narrative. They may spread rumors or gossip, planting seeds of doubt and discord. They may even convince you that their lies are the truth, and that you are the one who is mistaken. This is what makes the evil person so dangerous. They are not just liars, they are manipulators of reality. They create a false world in which they are the center, the one in control, the one with the power. And they will go to great lengths to maintain this illusion, to keep you trapped in their web of lies. To spot this manipulation of truth, pay attention to inconsistencies in their stories, to the gaps and contradictions in what they say. Listen to your intuition. If something feels off, it probably is. And remember the words of the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius, who said, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth, by which no one was ever truly harmed." An evil person does not seek the truth. They seek only to manipulate it for their own gain. Don't let yourself be drawn into their web of lies. Seek the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. Hold on to your own sense of reality, your own understanding of the world. An evil person will try to distort that, to make you doubt yourself, but you must stay grounded in your own truth. Way 5. The disregard for consequences. The fifth sign of an evil person is their complete disregard for the consequences of their actions. Most people, when making decisions, consider the impact of their actions on others. They think about how their choices will affect those around them, how their words and deeds will ripple out into the world. But an evil person does not care about consequences. They act purely out of self-interest, with no regard for how their actions may harm others. This disregard for consequences is rooted in a deep-seated selfishness. An evil person sees the world as a playground for their desires, a place where they can do as they please without fear of repercussion. They believe they are above the law, above morality, above the rules that govern the rest of us. They live in a world of their own making, where they are the only one who matters. The philosopher Thomas Hobbes described life in the state of nature as solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. This is the world that an evil person inhabits, a world where might makes right, where the strong prey on the weak, where there are no rules, no consequences, no accountability. They see themselves as the predator, the one who is strong enough to take what they want, regardless of the cost to others. This disregard for consequences is often accompanied by a sense of invincibility. An evil person believes that they can get away with anything, that they are too clever, too powerful, too untouchable to ever face the consequences of their actions. This arrogance often leads them to take bigger and bigger risks, to push the boundaries of what they can get away with. But eventually, their luck runs out. The consequences catch up with them, as they inevitably must. But in the meantime, an evil person can cause a great deal of harm. They leave a trail of destruction in their wake, broken relationships, ruined lives, shattered trust. And they feel no remorse, no guilt, no sense of responsibility for the damage they have caused. They simply move on to the next victim, the next target, the next opportunity to take what they want. The Stoic philosopher Seneca warned against the dangers of hubris, the arrogance that comes from believing oneself to be above the rules. He wrote, "He who has great power should use it lightly, for the more powerful the man, the heavier the weight of his responsibility." An evil person rejects this wisdom. They see power as a license to do whatever they please, without regard for the consequences. To protect yourself from this kind of evil, you must be aware of the signs. Pay attention to how someone reacts when confronted with the consequences of their actions. Do they show remorse, regret, a willingness to make amends? Or do they shrug it off, deflect blame, or even take pride in the harm they have caused? This callous disregard for consequences is a clear sign of an evil person. Don't let yourself be drawn into their world of selfishness and chaos. Stay grounded in your own principles, your own sense of right and wrong. And remember the words of the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." An evil person chooses to respond with indifference, with selfishness, with a complete disregard for the impact of their actions. You must choose differently. Way 6. The exploitation of vulnerability. The sixth sign of an evil person is their exploitation of vulnerability. Vulnerability is a natural part of the human experience. It's what allows us to connect with others, to love, to trust, to grow. But an evil person sees vulnerability not as something to be respected or protected, but as something to be exploited. They prey on the vulnerable, the weak, the innocent, using their power and influence to take advantage of those who cannot defend themselves. This exploitation can take many forms. An evil person may prey on the emotional vulnerability of others, manipulating their feelings to gain control. They may take advantage of someone's financial vulnerability, exploiting their need for money or resources. They may prey on the young, the elderly, or the disabled, those who are less able to protect themselves from harm. They may exploit someone's trust, their kindness, their generosity, using it against them to get what they want. The philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau spoke of the noble savage, the idea that humans are born good, but are corrupted by society. An evil person is the embodiment of this corruption. They have lost their connection to the innate goodness of humanity, instead choosing to exploit the vulnerabilities of others for their own gain. They have no empathy, no compassion, no respect for the dignity of others. They see vulnerability as a weakness to be exploited, not a strength to be nurtured. This exploitation is often subtle, insidious. An evil person may present themselves as a helper, a protector, a friend, all the while using their position of power to exploit those they are supposed to care for. They may offer help or support, but it always comes with strings attached, with hidden motives and ulterior agendas. They may use guilt, shame, or fear to manipulate others into doing their bidding, to keep them under control. To spot this exploitation of vulnerability, pay attention to the power dynamics in your relationships. Does someone always seem to be in control, always dictating the terms of the relationship? Do they make you feel small, weak, or dependent? Do they use your vulnerabilities against you, making you feel guilty, ashamed, or afraid? These are the signs of an evil person who is exploiting your vulnerabilities for their own gain. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." An evil person seeks to make others their slaves, to control them through their vulnerabilities, to exploit their weaknesses to gain power and control. But true freedom comes from recognizing and resisting this exploitation, from standing strong in your own power, from refusing to be a victim of someone else's manipulation. Don't let yourself be exploited by an evil person. Recognize your vulnerabilities, but don't let them be used against you. Stand strong in your own power, your own sense of self-worth, and remember the words of the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius, who said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. An evil person seeks to take that power away from you, to exploit your vulnerabilities to their advantage. But you can choose to resist, to stand strong, to protect yourself from their exploitation. Way 7. The lack of conscience. The seventh and final sign of an evil person is their lack of conscience. Conscience is what separates us from animals, what allows us to distinguish between right and wrong, to feel guilt and remorse, to make moral decisions. But an evil person lacks this fundamental human quality. They have no conscience, no sense of right and wrong, no empathy, no remorse. They do what they want, when they want, without regard for the consequences, without any sense of guilt or shame. This lack of conscience is what allows an evil person to commit acts of cruelty, deception, and manipulation without hesitation or regret. They can lie, cheat, steal, and harm others without a second thought, because they have no moral compass, no guiding principles, no sense of responsibility or accountability. They live in a moral vacuum, where their own desires and needs are the only things that matter. The philosopher Immanuel Kant spoke of the categorical imperative, the idea that we should act only according to that maxim by which we can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. An evil person rejects this idea entirely. They do not act according to any moral code or principle. They act solely out of self-interest, with no regard for the impact of their actions on others. This lack of conscience is often masked by a veneer of respectability. An evil person may present themselves as a moral, upstanding citizen, but this is just a facade. Behind the mask, they are driven by selfishness, greed, and a complete disregard for the well-being of others. They may talk about morality, justice, and fairness, but their actions reveal their true nature. A person without a conscience, without empathy, without a soul. To spot this lack of conscience, pay attention to how someone behaves when they think no one is watching. Do they lie, cheat, or steal when they believe they can get away with it? Do they show no remorse or guilt when confronted with the harm they have caused? Do they lack empathy, compassion, and a sense of responsibility? These are the signs of an evil person who lacks a conscience, who is driven by selfishness and malice. The Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "A good character is the only guarantee of everlasting, carefree happiness." An evil person, lacking a good character, is incapable of true happiness. They may achieve their goals, gain power and control, but they are empty inside, devoid of the qualities that make life meaningful: love, compassion, empathy, and a sense of moral responsibility. Don't let yourself be deceived by the facade of respectability. Look beyond the surface, beyond the words and actions, to the true character of the person. And remember the words of the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who said, "We should always be asking ourselves, is this something that is, or is not, in my control?" An evil person seeks to control others, to manipulate and deceive, to act without conscience or moral restraint. But you have the power to resist, to stand strong in your own principles, to protect yourself from their influence. Conclusion: the power of awareness. As we conclude this journey into the dark recesses of human nature, remember that awareness is your greatest weapon. The world is not as simple as good versus evil, but understanding the signs of malevolent intent can protect you from harm. Not everyone who exhibits one or two of these traits is irredeemably evil, but a pattern of these behaviors is a clear warning sign. Equip yourself with this knowledge, and you'll be better prepared to navigate the complexities of human relationships, to protect yourself from those who seek to harm or control. The wisdom of the Stoics teaches us to focus on what we can control, to live according to our principles, and to seek the truth above all else. By applying these lessons, you can guard yourself against the influence of evil people and live a life guided by virtue and wisdom.